The psychological development of children has proven itself to be one of the most versatile and widely disputed topics in the field of psychology, with several warring opinions on what might stabilize a growing child until they become a functional member of society. Some experts claim that such progressions are completely natural, while others claim that a nurturing environment from a parent or caregiver is necessary, both following the footsteps of renowned psychologists before them to justify their theories. Of course, we know that some, such as Sigmund Freud, have some wacky, at best, theories. However, it goes without saying that not all adults have a child's best interests in mind, no matter what they believe. As much as we'd like to trust all doctors and researchers who do work with our children every day, we have to remember that awful things have and can still take place, even if it appears at first that nothing is wrong. Helmut Kentler is one of these people. Born in 1928 in Cologne, Weimar Republic, the man grew up to be a well-respected psychologist and sexologist in Germany, especially once under the employ of the University of Hanover. Well-educated and charismatic, he maneuvered his way from advocacy work to being the president of the German Society for Social Scientific Sexual Research, and eventually into the position of a psychological consultant for police issues during a period of student riots in Berlin. Believing strongly in the link between emancipation and maturity, he then pitched a prominent study that continued to shape his career. This study initially involved taking 3 troubled youths from foster care with the consent of their parents. It claimed that the extended period of time away from their family would help to guide them onto a straighter path. He also held the belief that this arrangement would help the childless adults learn to become more loving foster parents. After his death in 2008, however, several allegations started to seep out of the woodwork, stemming from first-hand statements of the afflicted youths themselves. Kentler, under the disguise of rehabilitation, had placed them with known pedophiles in hopes that the affection shown to them would help establish a mental relationship. Kentler even wrote about his experiments in a popular 1980s magazine. Quote, 11 years ago, I was living in a group in Berlin at the time. 13-year-old Ulrich was brought to me. Ulrich's advantage was that he looked good and that he enjoyed sex, so he could give something back to pedophile men who looked after him. We were lucky with Mr. Winter, the foster guardian assigned to Ulrich by Kentler, but surely my regular visits had a positive effect as well. End quote. And expressed that, quote, relationships between adults and adolescents often suffer from the fact that they have to hide and hide, end quote. This obviously is not the case. One of the boys, known by Marco in some reports, has said that he suffered a great deal of abuse and neglect, unwanted sexual encounters from his mentor, a man by the name of Henkel. 47 at the time of fostering children, many onlookers noticed that he often tried establishing frequent contact with the boys under his care, most notably Marco. Eventually, caseworkers discovered an ongoing relationship with one of his other foster sons as well. In Marco's case, Henkel often manipulated him into acquiescence and convinced him the things he wanted were normal and even expected. The boy said that Henkel insisted on supervising visits with his own mother and often canceled them at the last minute, claiming that the contact was disruptive to their built routine. He recounts suffering from lack of concentration and persistent incontinence after his mother's visits stopped, adding to his already immeasurable stress. He was forbidden from speaking with other foster children or to his school's therapist privately, cutting off the young boy from any safe spaces or rescue, despite being told by Kentler that he needed their trust in dealing with severely damaged children. Marco's parents and local authorities pushed further, asking why the boy should grow up in a strange family that deprived him of proper Arabic education. At a 1992 hearing, shortly before his 10th birthday, Marco was asked privately if he wanted his mother to visit him in Henkel. Likely under the insidious influence of his foster father, Marco simply replied, "Not often." As they grew older, Henkel and the other men used greater levels of violence when their victims reached an age where they could finally refuse sexual advances themselves. The full scope of this 30-year experiment and the number of victims is mostly unknown, let alone the knowledge if any children had in fact died in their captivity. Although it's difficult to imagine something like this happening with such a level of complete government sanction today, what we have to remember is that at the time, Germany was undergoing a period of revision after the strife of World War II, culminating in a sexual revolution that took the nation's youth by storm. New interest in proper sexual education and the emancipation of minors became intertwined, leading many to question what the line between adulthood and legally being a minor exactly was, and what that meant for relationships as they age. One glance at its more obscure history reveals that the nation has always struggled with figuring out the legality of this issue. For example, the Spiegel International indicates several FDP connections to a rising pedophilia movement throughout many decades. In March 1980, the FDP's Young Democrats wished to remove paragraphs that criminalize sexual acts with teenagers from the German criminal code. Campaign lobbying for an established pedophilic group in a 1981 state parliament election, an unopposed presentation made by Kentler in May of 1981, justifying his experiments, an invitation to a closing party for the FDP's federal convention, explicitly addressing pederasts and advertising disco and discussion, public support of the act from sociology professors. The Humanistic Union, HU, collaborating with both DSAP, the Active German and Working Group on Pedophilia, and the Working Group on Human Sexuality, AHS, which advocated for relationships between adults and children. It's a rather chilling list to look back on, but a completely necessary one. It explains why Kentler's allegations took as long as they did to finally be validated. Journalist Joanna Hendel explained in a 2019 online survey that although Kentler's case was brought to the attention of the Berlin Senate in 2015, and for the record, to a very public debate, files from both the man's apartment and his youth welfare office were confiscated in an attempt to halt further investigation. Although his experiment was formally discredited by the university, eventually in 1996, an actual delve into the criminality of his actions was not brought back to the table for many years after. In fact, as Kentler himself and the abusers had passed away by the time of the accusations, no formal charges were ever pursued. Instead, the state offered Marco and the other boys, now completely grown men, heavy out-of-court compensation, with one prosecutor fighting for a lump sum of 100,000 euros and an additional monthly pension of around 2,500. It's speculated that even if Kentler and Henkel were alive today, the statute of limitations would ultimately block any attempts to seek justice needing to be served. Berlin Youth Affairs Minister Sandra Shears stated, "It was a crime to put these people into this kind of care. It's simply unimaginable that something like this happened with complete state oversight. It's here where all of us has to question the pitfalls of blindly trusting anonymous authority groups or public figures." Kentler's extensive background with youth groups and psychology presented him as an ultimately trustworthy person in the beginning. Despite the part authority played in this horrific event, it's that same authority now, along with other well-meaning organizations, who are trying to rectify other cases just like this today. As of 2005, a rehabilitation program for non-offending pedophiles has been growing in popularity, peaking steadily at over 7,000 callers/participants throughout 10 cities across Germany, including Berlin. About 1,000 have successfully received treatment. Pedophilia is not curable, but it can be treated. This is the hope of Dr. Klaus Bayer, the head of its prevention network. Due to this and other programs' efforts, the World Health Organization has come to classify pedophilia as a sexual preference disorder. Until the moment it's acted upon, then it becomes strictly a crime. Many hope that throughout methods of reinforcing consequences and self-control, along with voluntary chemical castration in more dire cases, the epidemic will subside and children will live an overall safer quality of everyday life. So far, the effort has been funded by state governments, although it remains to be seen if this effort will continue. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here. I know this is a bit different than my usual videos. I'm gonna start trying to do little short documentary videos on things that interest me about once a week or so. Things like dark experiments, creepy disappearances, accidents that have happened, just things that interest me generally. If you guys liked the video, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment what you thought of the case involved. Let me know if you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff. And if you have any particular cases or things like that you'd like me to cover that have occurred throughout history, I'll try to take a look at them. If you guys are interested, please take a look at my other channels as well. I have one where I read completely true crime stuff, that's called Mr. Blue Skies, and I have another one where I do completely just videos about accidents that have happened over the years. That one's called Darkest Hour. If you want to get in contact with me for any reason, links to all my social media are in the description. Special thanks to my artist Alan, who does all my art for the channel. He does good stuff, and I believe he does commissions as well. His stuff will be in the description as well. Overall, I think that's all for now, guys, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.